Boy, screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on them. Shoulda never sent them to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the chest, he was gonna Sean John.
All right. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It is Friday, December 27th, and the Celtics get right back on track and absolutely demolish the Pacers 142-105, their biggest win of the season thus far. This is why you don't panic after big games like the one on Christmas. This is why you keep a level head. Chuddy, I'll bring you in here. What did you think about this game? Pretty exciting stuff, right? Had a little bit of everything. Jaylen, 44 points. Pritchard almost triple-double. Tatum double-double like in the first quarter. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no shortage of excitement on this one, but I'm going to stay consistent. And when you said it, just stay level-headed, not get too down with last game, not get too up with this. We know who this team is. We know what they are. This is the real version of the Celtics that we know is in there. So, we weren't panicked or worried or concerned or anything like that. Had a couple off games, whatever.
Not me at all, no.
This is the team we see more often than not. We've become accustomed to these 40-point wins, so it just is what it is. But I was obviously happy to watch them play this well, but certainly not surprised. Nothing unexpected. I don't even think. They obviously played better than they have in recent memory, but I don't think this was any kind of there's a statement or that was a wake up call or this and that. I think they just played better and they played a team finally that didn't play awesome against them. All these games are tough games, and the other team seems to play their best game against the Celtics tonight. We talked about it last time. Friggin' absolutely brutal scheduling for the Pacers having to play in Indiana last night against the Thunder, a game that went down to the final possession against a team with the best record in the Western Conference. So dogfight that night. They're a little bit shorthanded. Obviously we are too, but they came in. You could tell the Celtics were locked in on both ends, and it did not take long at all to see that Pacers really did not have a chance in this one.
Yeah, I think I called, what was the word I used for the last game? The most disturbing or the most...
yeah, I think what did you say? One of the most disturbing games you've ever seen?
Disturbing game I've ever seen. I'll stand by that, but this if that was the most disturbing, then I'd say this was one of the most delightful. I definitely, we had a little bit of fun. I definitely felt a little more upset than you during the last game, but this is exactly what I needed.
Seemed like you were having fun.
No, but I was thinking about this afterwards. I was like, was I overreacting on the pod? And then I was like, I think of it more as you're more of the cooling saucer. It's what they call the Senate. And the House of Representatives is the passions of the masses. And then the Senate is supposed to be the cooling saucer, supposed to cool down those raw emotions. And I feel like we do a good job of having a little bit of that, both of those in the podcast. So shout out to you. The cooling saucer wins out because the response from them today. But I agree with what you said too, where I don't think this was necessarily us going out there looking to make a statement. I think we just finally were just doing the things that we hadn't been doing and the making the shots we hadn't been making. Payton Pritchard got himself back on track. Derek White only finished with 9 points, but he hit a couple shots just kind of early. It got to a point where they didn't really need him to do much. Obviously, with Jaylen having
several
44.
blocks.
Yeah, several blocks. Tatum got going. His jump shot was going too. It just, everything looked like what we know it's supposed to look like. So this was a good reassuring. I don't think they were going out to make a statement, but for Celtics fans, this was definitely a little reassuring after the 3 out of 4 game skid they kind of
won,
so.
I wouldn't say it was anything extra statement or anything like that, but I will say there was probably some level of okay, we can't come out flat again, or it's they were clearly more locked in from the jump. Those first few minutes, even though I think we started 1 of 6 on threes, our shots weren't falling, but we were playing great. The ball was moving around. We were getting great looks. We were playing great defense on the other end, and it seemed like it was just a matter of time. And then it was basically the Jaylen show. Scored all those points, threes and dunks basically, and it was just holy shit, he's locked in. And then took it from there. All the things that in this mini slump kind of haven't been going our way started to again. You saw Payton Pritchard again seemingly broke out of anything that's been going on with him. He was back to the way he's been all year. Obviously had a great game. You see what a difference that makes when the bench comes in and it's there's no drop off at all. And again, last few games not really having Hauser. and Pritchard struggling, it's a different game. And you see tonight when he comes in and does his thing, it's like, Jesus, there's just no chance for the other team to rest. It just keeps coming at you for really 48 minutes in this one, even though the last few minutes obviously were not the typical guys.
Even all the bench guys at the end, they were playing like crazy. That was awesome.
But this was, the Celtics just came out, played great, absolutely dominated. And I mean, that's what they do. Is we say, when they lose, sometimes I'll say, for one out of every 5 games, they're just gonna have an off night, where it's like, seemingly 1 out of 5 nights they're gonna have a very on night and just absolutely steamroll the other team. That was tonight. Good Pacers team. Again, tough scheduling for them. I think we'll probably see a little more fight on Sunday night when we play them again, but I don't think it would have mattered too much how rested they were when we play like this. Obviously, we're gonna mop the floor with pretty much every opponent.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I think we should talk a little bit more just about Jaylen's night. Final stat line: 44 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. He did on 16 of 24 shooting. He also had 4 steals. I saw that him, Larry Bird, and Antoine Walker are the only players to ever have, I think it was 40 points and 4 steals in a game or something like that. So,
and he came out with like 8 minutes left too, or at least like ton of time.
I know he was heading for 50 burger.
Could have,
Larry Bird did that. I think I saw 5 times, which is crazy. That's like a crazy stat, but I mean, what did Jaylen? This is also, I think I saw the fifth time this year that he's had 15 or more points in the first quarter, which is the most in the NBA. There's no one else in the NBA that's done it 5 times. 4 dunks in this game. Absolutely, one of them was a pretty monstrous dunk. Almost looked like he was going to get it over Miles Turner, but Miles Turner kind of made a business decision at the end to get out of the way a little bit there. It could have been a lot worse for him if he kept going for that.
And people were taking
the other kind of Showtime dunk. It was just
Jaylen. He was awesome, and it seemed like, I mean, I feel like people have talked a little bit about him regressing and struggling this year. I really haven't seen it, other than just his shot hasn't quite been as on. I think he's been playing really well overall, really locked in on defense, and he's done a lot of good things elsewhere. And the numbers have mostly backed that up. It's really just been shooting. Tonight, there's just like something about it. Even the way that first shot went in, it was just like so pure. And he kind of held it for a second. It was just like, oh shit, his shot's on. And I think he started off 9 of 9. It felt like he made a couple threes. He made it off the drill 3, and then he started getting going inside. He had the first dunk was like a sick pass. Someone set him up, and I forget who. They never really showed a good replay. I think it was Furphy, the rookie. Like for a second, thought about it, and then made an absolute business decision. Just kept going, and Brown did the 2-hand, almost like power dribble, like Shaq 2-handed dunk over his head. Then then the next possession he flew down. He thought he was going to do it again. He had that like finger roll lay in. Then Miles Turner just totally caught a nap and basically just pickpocketed him from behind, breakaway, and that's when he did the windmill dunk. All happened so fast with like a 3 in between.
Quite a sequence,
holy shit. And I think that pushed us ahead by double digits and really never looked back from there. With Rick Carlisle, who's kind of notorious for calling a lot of timeouts to stop runs, he almost burned them all in the first half because it was just an absolute avalanche that was mostly started by Brown. I thought he looked awesome, and obviously the stats, all that, back it up. But I mean, again, much like everything else, like this is who Jaylen is. I guess you could say it's surprising he hasn't had more games like this, but hopefully this will be the start of him finding his shot, because that's really been all that's missing. If he gets hot there too, like, forget it. So if the shot's falling and he's playing with that much confidence, damn.
You might have the numbers, but I didn't really feel like his shot has been like off compared to last year. Is it like a big drop off? It seems chill.
Just a little bit.
Seems pretty chill.
It's been a little off. I don't have the stats like right in front of me, but let's see, shooting 32% on 3, so it's not very good.
No, interesting. I would have thought it was higher too. I honestly feel like my eye test would have told me that he's been shooting pretty well this year from 3. But
that's I think why I'm not really worried about it, because again, like, we know he's a good shooter, and you could just see how locked in he was tonight and how pure that shot does look when it's going like that. So, obviously great to see. Yeah, Brown.
Yeah, he was a 35% last year. He's 32% this year. So I guess a little drop off. Whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, he's
shooting 1 more per game. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. But I think he's elevated his game in basically every other facet. He's become a better passer, better ball handler, better defender, doing everything else well. And again, we've got a big enough body of work. Like, we know the shots are going to fall. So again, maybe this is just the start of a heater for him, which would obviously be absolutely wonderful. But with Jaylen, again, it's a lot of stuff that doesn't show up in the box score, and that's like tonight where he took his level just to another. No, I mean, everyone was playing well. Like you said, Tatum came out, he was playing well, Pritchard was playing well, but Brown was just on a whole nother level. And it was like he basically put this game away in the first half all by himself, in the first quarter, really. So good to have games like that, and just good to have multiple guys so you can kind of get a performance from. You don't even end up missing Porzingis, Holiday. You got 2 starters missing on a night like tonight, obviously. Don't even notice that. So, yeah, kind of just good to get back on track, I guess. Quiet any of the nonsensical outside noise that was existing going into this game, but Brown obviously a big part of that. Always good to see.
Yeah. Big day too for Jaylen. Even both. Well, I guess one during the game, he had adding 2 accolades to his already impressive resume. We obviously know about the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, the Finals MVP, the Larry O'Brien. All that stuff is very good. But he had one during the game. He becomes the first player this season to record multiple 100-plus dunk scores. I don't know if you heard them mention that in the broadcast. Doesn't seem like anyone knows what that means, but he's the first person to do it. So shout out to him for this season. And then also he was named Sports Illustrated NBA Player of the Year by which sounds like it's basically just Chris Mannix picking a guy, and he chose Jaylen Brown. So another trophy to the trophy case, NBA Player of the Year. What does Sports Illustrated just not have enough people to do like a consensus poll? So it's just Mannix.
It's like, guess I'm guessing they had a whole like list of awards, and they just went to their like senior writer for that category to pick it. But the way they presented it is if it was like some big huge honor, and it was literally just up to Mannix, is hilarious.
It seems like it's a system like rife for corruption.
It's also yeah. I mean, it's just such a wild pick. We obviously love Jaylen, but like not even an all NBA player. Not even the best player on his own team. Like, one, obviously, Finals MVP. So it's like Mannix has that. But it's like, it's almost like he's just trying to start, like, playing devil's advocate without anyone even, like, arguing against him. But it's just like, all right. Like, wait a minute. You got to be kidding me here. So, I mean, good for Jaylen, obviously. But, yeah, a little bit hilarious and ridiculous. And then during the game, too, they were, like, talking about, I don't know, it might have been the pregame, and they were talking about, like, what went into it and some of, like, the backstory. And they were like, yeah, like, said it was a lot about like what he did on the court, but even more about like what he did off the court. It's like, well, wait a minute, that's like a completely different award. Like the award is best NBA player, so it's like, well, I don't think you should be factoring in like what he did off the court. Like, so it's like Mannix is just taking the award in his own direction. Seemingly, it's more of a good Samaritan slash, and then it's like, well, what's the makeup? Like, what percentage? How good he is as a player? What percent is off the court? Like, how good of an off the court would someone have to be to get the award if they were a bad player? So, yeah, I mean,
I literally can't find anything about who won this award last year either. I'm looking online.
Just the first ever, first annual.
Mannix is just like, oh, I'm gonna do an article about Jaylen Brown. Like, can we just call it? Yeah, the first annual Mannix. They got to just call the trophy the Mannix.
Yeah. Well,
it's just him.
We're here making fun of it, but whatever it is, it obviously, I mean, if Jaylen's going to play like this every time he gets a Mannix award, I mean, I hope he gets one every game. So,
yeah, it's well deserved.
Yeah,
but I do love that system.
We celebrate all of our guys' achievements. So, yeah, we'll take it. Absolutely.
We're going to give out Chuddy's Corner Athlete of the Year awards, I think, next episode.
We got to do it, yeah.
As unanimously selected by one of us.
Exactly.
But yeah, congrats to Jaylen. I certainly don't want to sound like we're downplaying Jaylen winning the award. It's more just the system in which that award is chosen is absolutely. When the graphic just says NBA Player of the Year, and then it was like as selected by Chris Mannix.
Yeah, it's outstanding.
Like, that's awesome. Good for Mannix, though, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really consolidated power over there at Sports Illustrated. So
clearly, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But just other stuff on the actual game. I mean, you can tell early on, and it's like, again, a chicken and the egg thing with the offense, the defense, the ball movement, all of it. It's just like it seems like when one thing's going well, they're kind of all going well. It's hard to tell which is like the trigger to which, but it's also, we always will say like Celtics basketball, things like that. And it's kind of just like an annoying cliche, but it's almost like that quote with like pornography where it's like, I know it when I see it, I can't define it. That's kind of like with Celtics basketball, and I feel like there were so many possessions tonight, even early on, where you're just like, yeah, that's Celtics basketball. The extra pass, the driving kick, stretching out their defense, which obviously the Pacers have some weak defenders. It was not too challenging to get them in rotation, but it was just nice to see the ball humming around, finding open shooters over and over again. Again, even when they weren't falling, it was just like, yes, okay, we're back to Celtics basketball. This is beautiful to watch. Love seeing that.
Yeah, you definitely know when you see it.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as it's happening, you're like, yes, this is it.
And that's what I was saying last episode too. I'm like, it's like I can't really put my finger on like one thing I think that like they need to do better at. It's like so it's very strange. It's quite a strange team in that regard.
Well, yeah. I mean, and a lot of it again is like you say, one shot starts falling, you start getting stops, you're executing. It all kind of is easier, flows better, looks better. And again, the Celtics just so many guys, especially they're obviously missing Aaron Nesmith, who always plays well and is a good defender, but they have a lot of guys in there who just cannot really stop our guys from getting into the lane. So that kind of, when they get in rotation is obviously when the Celtics are at their best. I think some of the teams we played recently, Philly played easily their best defensive game of the season. We clown on like Paul George and stuff, but he's obviously a really good defender, and they just did a really good job of not over helping and kind of daring us to keep going, made it a super physical game in the lane. They didn't let us get them in rotation, kind of for better or worse, other than basically daring like Al to shoot, who had a good shooting game. But other than that, they did a really good job taking away the 3-ball. Magic did the same thing kind of when we played them. So that is part of it.
I feel like the Pacers were kind of doing a little bit of that with Al today, leaving Al to take the shots. He was making them, so they might have backed off a little bit. But
yeah, and, I mean, again, that's all part of the equation we've talked about when facing the Celtics. How they pick your poison. For Al. Yeah, it's a pick your poison scenario, and that's one of the poisons a lot of teams will pick. And I mean, there are less honorable ways to die, so can't really blame them. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was all good to see. Saw the Celtics. The defense was good the whole game, but they went a lot of zone, especially when some of the bench players came in, and that flummoxed them. That was really, really effective. They were turning the ball over in that a few times. We got some transition opportunities. Good to see.
Yeah,
just kind of mixing in some things.
Like out of timeouts too. I thought it was kind of funny. Yeah, just like, but I bet Carlisle wasn't expecting that when he drew up a play. Like some of the Celtics are out there in the zone.
Yeah, good to see them just mixing in stuff like that. Just playing a lot better overall, really on the defensive end. Obviously, is always good to see, and I thought that worked well. And then on their end, kind of a mixture of that, but not just the zone possessions, but in general, we talked last game how like the home road splits have been really weird for Tyrese Halliburton, and I thought it was just noticeable. Like, well, maybe not noticeable is almost the wrong word. It was like almost not noticeable when he was out there. It's just like this guy who we saw him last year, how great he could be, and it's just long stretches where you're like don't even notice he's out there. So really struggling to.
I think I said it last year that if he felt like he was just an industry plant because the All-Star game was in Indy.
Yeah, no,
I'm not buying that. He also, unfortunately, has so many videos of people doing like weird stuff that people play when a guy has a bad game. You know how they have like those lookalike. He has so many that look like him. So maybe he just stands out more when he has a bad game because there's so many videos where it's just like some like weird guy dancing in like a tight shirt, and they're like, "Oh, Halliburton, your team needs help," and then supposedly him. He's got a very recognizable face in that sense. It's tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's weird to watch such a seemingly like large fall off after. I mean, he was legitimately playing unreal last year. And I mean, you watch the game and it was like he would dominate the games. He would completely run the offense and was one of the most exciting players in the league to watch. And now he just looks like a shell of himself what he was. And I don't know if it's all the injury still or whatever, but he's obviously a young player, and this was supposed to be one of the best teams in the East, and didn't really see much of it tonight. So.
Yeah, he had 19 points, 9 assists, and I don't know. I would not have guessed he had 19 points, so I can't remember a single basket he made.
He definitely hit a few threes when they were down 20, but it didn't feel like he was impacting the game. He wasn't like pressuring our defense in ways that in the past we have seen him do to us and to like the league's best defenders, and it just didn't feel like that kind of game at all. So we'll see them again, obviously on Sunday, see how that looks that time. But beyond that, early Walshy minutes, and I thought really good ones. He played great tonight. Knocked down his shots, which is just a bonus. But when he's, rattling cages on defense, flying around for rebounds, making hard screens, cuts, and his open shots are going too. It's just like, wow, geez, he really looks like an expectation player.
Good. Yeah, he
looked
really good.
Cornette, great Cornette minutes. He came in. I don't even know if they mentioned it on the broadcast, but he had a straight up no look pass. Like, did you see that? They threw it to him. He jumped. And just straight no look lay off to Tatum for a dunk, which is just awesome. Like, obviously,
smart
no look. Just hilarious, just absolutely hilarious. And then the only other thing, kind of on the game, I had kind of not on the game, but because I keep seeing it. And I'm not trying to call out anyone specific with this. But I keep seeing the comparisons of and building up like something like it's a rivalry whenever it's Pritchard and McConnell going at it. Yeah, and I just think that's such a lazy comparison, clearly based on them just being two like smaller white guys. Because like McConnell is like all the white guy stereotypes, like, oh, he's a grinder, he's a dirt dog, like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Pritchard's a straight up hooper. Like that's just so unfair to Pritchard. So it just pissed me off when people
I think last year I made that comparison, but this year it's definitely not fair.
All right, yeah, no, I mean McConnell. I love McConnell. He's a great player, but he is just pure like hustle and hard work. Is like why he is where he is. Pritchard, fucking straight baller. So
Pritchard has outplayed that comparison for sure.
Yes, vastly. Just very different types. Just very different types of players. Just shows the laziness of the take. So we're above that on this show.
Yeah, no, I think he's outplayed it. I think our Twitter account has made that comparison before, but not this year.
Scrub it.
Not this season. We're good.
All right. All right. That's all I got. Good game.
All right. Yeah, no, sick game. Yeah, that's exactly what I needed. Like I said, after a day or so to cool down, I think being at the game is always worse because also we saw today, you'll probably cover it around the NBA, but Embiid got fined for doing one of these to the crowd.
It was for that. I thought it was for the crotch chop.
I don't know.
He always gets fined for doing the
he did crotch the crotch chop when he fell on the ground. He kind of did one but then he did another. There was another play. I forget exactly what he did, but he ran and he was kind of doing this and he quickly did one of these, but then he realized he stopped himself. Okay. Someone had a good screen grab.
Did they specifically say which the final?
No, they just said a gesture.
Right. I assumed it was the cross shot.
But that too, that also was why I was using that to explain some of my emotion that game.
Totally understandable. I'm assuming some of that 75K.
We got the fiery passion and the cooling saucer. It's very good.
Definitely.
It's very good. Fire and ice.
Yeah.
All right. We'll give out our Chuddy Chains. This one's an easy one for me. This one obviously goes to Jaylen Brown. Just absolute dominant night. Right out the gate, he just was scoring. He was doing everything he needed to do. He was making hustle plays. He was making steals. He had the dunks. We've talked all about him already, so you don't really need to hear it again. But Jaylen Brown is a very easy choice for my Chuddy Chain. What about you, Chud?
Honestly, a lot of good candidates for this one. I'm going to go probably in a direction that might surprise some, but I'm actually going to give it to Jayson Tatum, a guy we haven't talked about much tonight. But I think he deserves it for going in there doing the dirty work. He's just been a beast, really lately in general, rebounding the ball. They talked about he's almost up to 10 a game on the season. He had 10 in the first half tonight. Got to sit out a bunch of the game and just showed that he's, he knew Jaylen had it going on, and he was more than happy to kind of cede to him on offense a little bit, let him do his thing, which, again, cool to watch when your superstar is that focused on winning, on his teammates, and on just making the right play over and over again. So credit to Tatum, just finding other ways to get it done, rebounding the ball, making the extra pass, and going the extra mile on the defensive end. So the two J's getting the Chuddy Chains tonight. No surprise.
Yeah. 8 straight double-doubles for Tatum, too.
That's awesome.
So that's the longest game by Celtics since since Bird. Yeah, since Bird did had 2 9-game streaks in 1990. That's just crazy. That's also crazy.
Yeah, it's a conversation for another day, but another NBA championship, and that's becomes the conversation. We'll save it for another day. But that's the next kind of territory. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, gotta get the titles though. All right. We'll head over around the NBA, but first we'll pay some bills. Chuddy's Corner is sponsored by Nick Pareno Real Estate. Check out nickpareno.com. That's nickparano.com. For all your real estate needs, Nick has you covered, whether it's something big, whether it's something small, whether it's in your town, the next town over, the next state over, the next country over, everywhere. He's got you covered. Nick Pareno Real Estate. Make sure you check him out. And thank you to the sponsor. All right. Around the NBA, what do you got? We already dived a little bit into the Sixers being a shit show, but I know there's a couple other good stories. I think I know where you're going to start.
A lot going on. I wasn't even going to bring up the Sixers today. They've actually been oddly functional by their standards.
We really can't actually right now,
but got to start with what became the biggest story in the NBA. I mean, the writing's been on the wall, but if you haven't heard by now, the Kings firing their head coach today, Mike Brown. Again, he just the clearest like scapegoat situation of where, off to a 13-18 start, losers now 5 in a row, the last one in extremely ugly fashion. There's been this kind of ongoing saga with De'Aaron Fox, who's hired Rich Paul as his agent, didn't sign the extension last year. They've been kind of talking about lately, does he want out? What does he want? How are they going to convince him to be happy? Well, apparently their answer was, again, the low-hanging fruit. You can't fire the players. They fired the coach, Mike Brown, despite, he came into this franchise in 2022. The Kings had not made the playoffs in over 15 years or even sniffed a winning record. First season there, they went 48-34, third seed in the West. Just an unbelievable turnaround. He was coach of the year. Followed it up last season. They went slight dip, 46-34, made the play-in, didn't make it. Loaded Western Conference. Still, the two clear best seasons in the franchise's last whatever, and then a slow start this year. They axe him. Not only that, it comes out later that this was after this morning. The team woke up after last night's loss, practiced. He went through his post-practice press conference, all of that, and then he was driving to the airport to fly to LA for the team's next game, and they called him on the phone and fired him. Man,
that's crazy.
Classic Kangs shit. This is why they were, the biggest laughingstock in the NBA for a long time. It seemed like, largely thanks to Mike Brown, they were headed in the other direction. But I don't know if this is just complete, fear of losing De'Aaron Fox, and he applies the tiniest bit of pressure, and they're like, we have to do this. I don't know if it's just classic Vivek Redditive not being able to stay out of his own way. One of the biggest clown owners in sports, obviously. Just a miserable, dysfunctional franchise, and this was a brutal move. And it's not often you see others around the NBA come out and just absolutely rip people to shreds, but to see Michael Malone, Rick Carlisle, George Karl, the former coach, all kinds of very respected coaches around the NBA come out just shitting on the Kings, basically saying Mike Brown is the man, all these other stories. Man, just tough times for the Kings. And it is tough because I think we talked recently about how good the vibes were so recently, and it's just amazing the complete 180 from maybe one of the most fun, up-and-coming, best vibe teams in the league to now, immediately the worst. And, how long can they patch a Band-Aid on this before De'Aaron Fox does ask out? Would that even be bad at this point? Who knows? It seems like they took one step forward and now, 10 steps back.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just looking at something right now. So, they're an absolute joke franchise, and it is too bad. For some reason, I thought Mike Brown was there for a little bit longer, but the fact that he wasn't even there for 3 full seasons, I'm looking at their coaching situation now. So when they did have that, obviously that little kind of run in the early 2000s where they were pretty good.
Yeah.
They had Rick Adelman as they had Rick Adelman as the coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at since they fired him.
That's a long time ago. Different ownership group. Different ownership group. That's a long, long time ago.
Well, yeah, but I'm not bringing it up for that point. I'm bringing it up to say that since they got rid of Adelman, they literally haven't had a coach for more than 3 years. They've never had a coach for longer than 3 years. They just keep firing the coach after 3 years. It's just not how it gets done. And you look too, they had Mike Malone, who's now a sick coach.
They gave him 1 year. They fired him 20 games into his second year.
Yeah, and then they hired.
Your team sucked. What do you expect these coaches to do?
That same year, they hired George Karl at the end of the year. And then they only gave him 1 year, and then they fired him too.
And those are proven veteran NBA coaches. Not they gave some random hack from college, some young whiz kid a chance, and they're oh, this isn't working. It's it's George Karl, dude. He's a NBA Hall of Fame coach.
Dave Jorger.
This is crazy. Dave Jorger, I think they fired, and he immediately went to the Grizzlies and became their coach of the year after that. So
he got 3 years. Walton got 3 years, and then Mike Brown. Yeah,
insane.
The way they did that is pretty scummy, obviously, on the way to the airport. They had the guy going out, and they had an interview of him being asked about how do you coach amid these kinds of rumors, and he gave a really good answer about it. It's he gets fired on the way to the airport.
It's
just
not
crazy.
A good look. It's not a good look for anyone involved. For De'Aaron Fox, who, if you didn't see it too, the Kings, their loss last night was they were up by 3. And the final possession against the Pistons, a game they had been winning, they started blowing a huge lead, and then the last play they're up 3. De'Aaron Fox is just sagging off his man almost all the way into the paint, 1 pass away. When again you're up by 3, last possession of the game, 2 doesn't matter. He's super late to close out on Javen Ivey when his man gets the ball. He's 1 pass away. Pump fakes. Fox goes up in the air, just commits an awful foul. Ivey sinks the shot for an and 1. on the 3, so they lose on a 4-point play to extend their losing streak. So awful loss. And then, Mike Brown kind of called De'Aaron Fox out, like basically saying like, yeah, we can't have those kind of mistakes. We can't. That's just bad. Expects better of his star player, and then the next day he gets fired. So again, I have no idea like how much De'Aaron Fox had to do with it.
Out like that.
I find it hard to believe, but it's just still a bad look. The timing is awful, and with this stuff of like he hires Rich Paul the next day. Rich Paul's at the Kings game, sitting courtside, like staring across on the bench. Like I don't know. There's a lot of like not so great looking things, and then for it to happen this quickly, again, I think that's pathetic on the Kings for them to be like, all right, dude, you're not fucking Michael Jordan. Like we're not just firing the coach because you've had a few bad games.
Too,
like,
yeah.
But again, they're the fucking Kings. There's a reason all these people are coming out who, shitting on the team. Like, it's not a coincidence that these things keep happening with the same team. So, I don't know. Who knows? It's a shitty situation, but I'm sure Mike Brown will land on his feet somewhere. I'm sure there's plenty of teams that would love to probably have him as their coach today. If not, I'm sure he can go be an assistant on any bench he wants, or maybe go work on TV, because God knows they need some decent voices on those shows.
Yeah.
The biggest winners are the fans of the other 2019.
The Kings were such a feel-good story too his first year. The light, the beam, and everything. I was all for it. But now I just sour taste.
Yeah. Right. I like that Doug Christie's going to take over as the interim coach. He was a player on that early 2000s Kings team you mentioned with Peja, Bibby, C-Web, Vlade, and those guys. So cool to see him get his first chance. I wish it wasn't in a circumstance where it seems like he's just being like sent to the wolves, basically. But still kind of I guess the one slight positive spin I can get from this. Anyway, yeah, just all around bad team. Hate to see it. Anyway, moving on, another not great situation we talked about on Christmas. The Mavericks lost, and also Luka got hurt. We now know it sounds like it's a pretty serious hamstring injury. They said the most serious injury he's had while in the NBA. He knew it right away. He's not going to be reevaluated even for a month. So big blow to the Mavs. Very interesting. He's now almost certainly not going to be eligible for All-NBA, MVP, any of that stuff. Kind of crazy, but we'll see how the Mavs tread water. They've done well without him. Schedule gets a lot tougher now. And that can make a big difference. Obviously, they made the finals last year as a 5 seed, but the way the West is going, you could fall from, the 3 seed to the 9 seed with one bad week or so. So, interesting to watch. Certainly keep an eye on what happens out in Dallas. Obviously hate to see anything like that with injuries, but
Grizzlies are the 4 seed right now.
The Grizzlies, you mean the
Mavericks. Yes. Grizzlies are the 3 seed, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
unrelated.
Interesting. To keep an eye on there for sure. Positive injury news, believe it or not, Kawhi Leonard going to make his debut January 4th. Interesting. I feel like there's been zero noise around this, which is probably for the best. I feel like we've almost written him off, and it seems like anything he does would now be a bonus. So the Clippers have been a pretty good, surprising, fun story. It'll be interesting to see if they can actually get anything from Kawhi Leonard, who's been resting for a long time. And I mean, the Kawhi thing is so bizarre and just
whatever
sad.
happened to him suing the team or whatever.
Yeah, well, right. Remember, he was on the Olympic team. He said was planning to play. They sent him home. Then he wasn't ready to start the year. It's like, man, I'm glad he got those years he did.
Clippers?
Those poor knees. Yeah, it was, well, I forget
the
exact situation. It was like it wasn't him suing, but yeah, it was like his former trainer. I don't know. Bizarre situation, but all of that aside, I would just love to see him come back and be healthy. Just like sad to be robbed of a great player like that. So it would be cool if after all this rest, he was just able to play and actually help them. And, I don't think a lot of people thought they'd be good after losing George and then not having Leonard, and they've actually become a really kind of fun team, and injecting him into there, in theory, what he could be, even at like 80% of his old self, would be a really helpful player for a team that's actually making some noise in the West. So I'm certainly rooting for Kawhi. I'm obviously skeptical, but I'm hopeful. And I'm just glad that we've gotten an update that we're actually going to see him out there. It was trending towards the point of like, is he just going to retire? So we'll see what we get, but some positive injury news, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a staffer who worked with Kawhi that was working on the Clippers, and they didn't like that he was saying Kawhi needed more time.
Right.
So, okay, yeah. So it wasn't Kawhi suing them.
But yeah, right.
Got it.
It was like his camp, seemingly.
Yeah, Clippers strength and conditioning coach who says he was hired in 2019 as part of a years-long campaign to recruit Kawhi Leonard has sued the team, alleging wrongful termination in part for raising concerns about the management of Leonard's health and injuries.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go. All right, so he's not suing them. All right, well, he'll be back. We'll see. You know how I feel about Kawhi. I don't know. It'd be great. Whatever you get out of him, it will be great to see, obviously, if he's out there and he's good, but I don't know.
He's got degenerative knees. I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, in another fun NBA story, it seems things are officially ramping up with the Jimmy Butler situation. Last we've heard,
this is great.
Pat Riley came out with the firm statement of we are not trading Jimmy Butler, which is just absolutely hilarious. Now, Butler hasn't been with the team since they were expecting him back. He was out with an illness, and now he's missed like 3 games in a row. Didn't go on the road trip. It's like they're expecting him back over the weekend, but they don't know.
Days.
Yeah, this is what he does when he wants out. He just gets in a contest to see who can make who feel the most uncomfortable, and I think we could be there with him and Riles, and this could get good because there's a lot going on. Riles came out with that statement, which again,
Riles,
Pat Riley.
I know, but I've never heard it. I feel like
that's his nickname?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It sounds like a weird nickname for Pat Riley. He seems like he just seems too buttoned up for Riles.
Well, this is going back to like his playing and coaching days. He's not what he wants. I don't know.
All right, my bad.
But anyway, he this very clearly just making the statement like to Jimmy Butler. Basically, like I think that statement, he releasing that statement was him telling not the rest of the league, don't call me about Jimmy Butler. Telling Jimmy Butler, shut the fuck up. Like we're not trading you. So I think it's great. I think it should make for a really good standoff, and I think it's
yeah. But do you think that works in the NBA today? Like,
well, works. What's his end goal?
Doing it, like
works. What's he trying to accomplish? I guess is the question.
I mean, the end goal.
I think if he's getting a good trade offer for Jimmy Butler, he'd take it. I think he sees what's out there, and he sees the new second apron. He's like, "We're not." Jimmy Butler's leaking out. He wants to go to the Suns. He's like, Pat Riley's saying, "We're not taking fucking Bradley Beal's contract, dude. So get back to practice or like sit out." And Jimmy Butler's 35 and wants another max deal. So I'm not sure sitting out for
the
rest.
Is he a free agent after this year?
Well, he's a player option next year for $52 million, but he said he wants to opt out. He said he's going to opt out and is going to get a max contract. The only team that has the cap space to give it to him is the Brooklyn Nets. So do you think Jimmy Butler's going to opt out and sign a max deal with the Nets?
That's great.
Not super confident that he will. So he's either A, then going to need the Heat to help him with a sign and trade, which I don't know if they're going to be down to do, especially if this gets messy. He could opt in, just get the $52 million, try to hit free agency again. But again, he's going to be even another year older. So is he going to acting like a spoiled brat at this point in his career for 2 years in Miami? Is that I can't imagine the market's going to be buzzing to sign him up for a 4-year supermax until he's 40. I don't know. Like he's not the 27-year-old in his prime guy anymore at this point. I think there's a little skepticism, and I think the fact that it's coming out of Heat camp is probably not helping his value around the league. Again, I think for the last few weeks, there's been some legitimate trade buzz. I think Riley's probably talked to some people, seen how bad the offers are, and that's why he's like, all right, this isn't happening. And again, with this new like second apron, I feel like back in the day, it would always be like, well, you don't want to lose this guy for nothing. You don't want to lose this guy for nothing. But it's like with all these tricks and whatever about matching contracts, like losing him for quote unquote nothing might be better for the Heat to just not have bad contracts on their books. We've seen how damaging those are. Look at some of the offers out there. Again, like Bradley Beal, that's the worst contract in the league. Like they can't just take that. They'd be better off not trading him. The Warriors offer that they're packaging would mean offering a diesel contract to Jonathan Kuminga. Like, I don't think they want to do that either. So a lot of this stuff, I think they're just like, yeah, we're actually good. Just like not fucking with you. And if you want to go home and not play and like tank your own value for the future, fine. Like fuck off. So again, we'll see which side blinks first.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, if the Heat are okay with the idea that he doesn't come back and that he just tanks his value, then yes, I think what Pat Riley did there is effective. But if his goal is like to be like, we're going to get him back in the Heat uniform, I don't think that works in the NBA nowadays. But maybe that's not their that's not their goal. Maybe
I think they'd rather trade that than trade him for shitty contracts. And I think they're just calling his bluff of saying, again, you're 35 and the last year and a half has already been a little sketchy for you. You want some team to run out and now give you a max contract? Then like the best way for you to get that is probably to like show up to work and prove that you're still good and can like play. Yeah. Because that's what I would think if I was another team around the league.
So that now.
And again, even if he wants another team, like he keeps asking for these teams, which are just complete fantasy land with how the salary cap works now. And even if he wanted to sign a trade, he's going to need help from the Heat. And then it's going to be the same situation where they're going to be like, yeah, dude, we're not just like doing you a favor to take back these contracts that we don't even want. So could get very interesting. I mean, couldn't happen to a better organization. So
it's great. The Heat are dead. We said it after we beat them. They're dead. They're done. They're over.
I love it. I am thrilled.
It's good stuff.
To continue watching how it plays out. Should be fun. Should be really fun.
Yeah. Mike, you got anything else?
Just one encore thing. I'm probably not sure if anyone saw it last night. I mean, I hope everyone was watching Raptors Grizzlies because it was one of the premier jersey matchups you'll see all year. Those Grizzlies throwbacks and the Raptors purple dinosaur uniforms. Beautiful. But the Grizzlies smoked them and scored like 150 points. It was a drubbing, but Darko Rajakovic, the coach of the Raptors, had just an all-time meltdown. If you didn't see this, just charging in from half court to berate the official, was being held back, almost like running circles around him when they were holding him back, yelling all kinds of swears in like Serbian and stuff. So hilarious video to watch of this guy who most American NBA fans may not be super familiar with, but I think he'll endear you with this tirade he went on of the officials. It was pretty classic. Yeah, he's had some good press conferences and stuff in the past, but not like on court. This was a pretty funny one that I feel like wasn't making the rounds that it deserved.
He had one rant though, didn't he? He had a huge rant. Yeah,
he's had some classic rants in the media, but this was just like on court like this. This was like old school, like umpire, like tossing the bases around, losing his cool. So always fun to see that. And then got to end on a bit of a sad note, not necessarily NBA related nowadays, but the passing of legendary broadcaster Greg Gumbel.
Yeah,
so sad to see. Such a huge part of so many great sports moments, and especially college basketball, whether calling games or hosting in the studio. Just his name, so many big events, was the voice of a lot of games early on in the Patriots Brady dynasty, certainly for CBS, the voice of Selection Sunday for March Madness, many other great things. 78 years old, didn't even know, so just sucks, sad to see. Obviously, I think probably one of those celebrities you'd think with a higher Q rating. I can't imagine there's a lot of people out there don't like Greg Gumbel. Just great guy, so
yeah.
RIP to him.
Well, yeah, just sad one of those. Whenever it's one of those things where it's just like it's just a voice you've always just had. You kind of like you just take it for granted too, and stuff like that. I feel like Stuart Scott was sort of that way when he passed. Like Gumbel has been around even longer, but it's just kind of like you're like, whoa, this voice I associate with this thing.
Totally.
Just isn't there. So
especially with obviously Jim Nantz, thank God his health is fine. But with Jim Nantz retiring and now Gumbel, it's like those were the voices of sports on CBS for like our entire lifetime. So sad stuff, but
I have a good note. You sent this out to us last night. Shout out to Red Panda, the halftime performer. Yeah. She was at the Garden on Christmas, watched her perform, did a great job. And then you mentioned last night watching on League Pass, she was in Sacramento last night. So from Boston to Sacramento on Christmas, traveling on Christmas to get there, absolutely dedicated to her craft. So shout out to Red Panda.
Just tearing down. That was probably the highlight of any Kings fans gotten to see when they've gone to the arena in a while. Little kiss of death for poor Mike Brown. So maybe you don't want to see Red Panda.
And she's definitely somewhere tonight too. So who knows?
I'm sure. I haven't been locked in the halftime shows around the league. I've been a little distracted, but she might. She's her schedule. We're crying for these NBA players on back to back. She's working like crazy.
She doesn't stop.
No off nights for the Red Panda.
We'll see everyone back here Sunday. Was anyone that was out for the Pacers that might be back on Sunday, or are we just expecting the same team, just more rested?
Nembhard and Neesmith might be back. I haven't seen an update, but those guys have been out for a while, so Nembhard has not been out for a while. Nembhard, I think, will be back. He was just off because of the back-to-back, but Neesmith has been out. Maybe Obi Toppin will be back, but we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I just think the night of rest, staying in Boston, will probably lead to us seeing a different Pacers team on Sunday night than we saw tonight. But if it's not like this, it won't matter.
All right. See you back here Sunday. Shout out that Payton Pritchard outfit today. They're showing up on Post Game Live. Unreal socks hat. Just a great look. All right. We'll see you back here on Sunday. Take care.
Peace out, Chuddy.